April 13th, 1204, and the city of Constantinople is burning. Foreign invaders have captured the city. Looting and other violent acts are taking place all over the most important city in Christendom.
Hashtag Black Lives Matter.
The last bastion of the empire is set to be carved up. This event was the climax of the Fourth Crusade, but Constantinople wasn't captured by its longtime rivals, the Muslim caliphates to its east. Instead, it was betrayed by the very forces that came to help it. Constantinople was captured by Western Crusaders. Rather than Christendom versus Islam, it was Western Christianity versus Eastern Christianity. But what happened to cause this great betrayal? The Fourth Crusade began in 1204 and was called by Pope Innocent II. The mission was fairly straightforward. Take down Egypt since it was the most powerful rival in the region, then follow Richard the Lionheart's old route and during the Third Crusade and secure Jerusalem for Christendom. But like always, political squabbles got in the way. Marquis Boniface of Montefiore was chosen to lead the Crusader force. Boniface arrived in Venice in early October of 1202. He had promised the Doge of Venice, Enrico Dondolo, that he would have an army of over 35,000 soldiers. The Crusaders needed Venice to build ships and transport them across the Mediterranean. Dondolo agreed and construction began on the ships. There was one slight problem, though. Only around 12,000 soldiers actually showed up, and they didn't quite have enough money to pay for the ships, and Dondolo wouldn't let them leave Venice until they could pay up. They attempted to repay the debt in several ways. The first was they did a brief siege on the Christian city of Zara, but the Pope got really angry about that and was swiftly condemned. Enter Alexios IV. Alexios was in a pickle. You see, his dad, Isaac II, used to be emperor, but in 1195, his dad got ousted in a good old-fashioned coup. Alexios didn't like that because, like Simba, he just couldn't wait to be king. So he approached Boniface with an offer. Take a little detour to Constantinople, overthrow Alexios III that was currently on the throne, and place him on the throne. In exchange, he gave the Crusaders 200,000 silver marks, 10,000 Byzantine soldiers, the Byzantine navy to escort the Crusaders, and placed the Eastern Orthodox Church under the authority of the Pope. Apparently, the only thing he didn't promise was the moon. The Crusaders took this offer quickly. The Crusaders arrived in Constantinople in June of 1203 with one objective in mind: to boot Alexios III from the throne and place Alexios IV on it. The Crusaders struck Alexios' forces swiftly. Alexios III was terrible in battle and would continually retreat. He finally went on the offensive in the northeastern corner of the city, but retreated very quickly after Crusaders put up a good fight. He was so fond of retreating, he actually abandoned the city and his people. Imperial officials acted swiftly and took action. They, instead of chasing down Alexios IV, they reappointed Isaac II as emperor. This took the wind out of the Crusaders' sails. The Crusaders told the officials they wouldn't leave unless Alexios IV was made co-emperor. The officials agreed and Alexios IV was crowned on August 1st. Immediately, Alexios IV realized how difficult it would be to keep his promises to the Crusaders. He didn't have the money or the troops or the ships to deliver, and the Crusaders told them they weren't leaving Constantinople until they got what they were promised. As a result, Alexios started selling everything. He even started burning down religious icons and relics to make money for the Crusaders.
And his GameStop stock.
He directed the people to also do the same thing. The people, as the months drug on and the Crusaders still remained there, got pretty understandably angry. The Crusaders had just attacked their city. They were eating all their food. They had to melt down their valuables and relics to pay them off. And in January of 1204, when Isaac II died, Alexios became the sole emperor. And the people were not about to have that, so they decided to have another good old-fashioned coup. They went and overthrew Alexios IV by strangling him to death and installing Alexios V as emperor. They weren't very original with imperial names back then, apparently. The Crusades and the Venetians felt betrayed by their patron being killed and demanded that the Byzantines honor their old emperor's arrangement. Alexios V refused, and the Crusaders decided it was sieging time again. Upon hearing about these events, the Pope was outraged. On April 8th, 1204, Byzantine and Crusader forces fought. Alexios V was a worthy adversary, and he held up well for the first few days of the battle. On April 12th, when the weather conditions allowed, Venetian ships were able to get close enough to the walls to attack. The Crusaders then entered the northern part of the city and established a camp. On April 13th, the Crusaders captured the city completely and Alexios V fled. This time, the Crusaders sacked, burnt, looted, and pillaged everything. The Crusaders and the Venetians divided the empire up between them. The Latin Empire was established in Constantinople, and the old Byzantine rulers were forced to rule from Nicaea. The Pope excommunicated everybody involved. 0 Holy Lands were recaptured. 0 Muslim armies were defeated. And instead, the most important city in Christendom was weakened. Constantinople would not return to Byzantine hands until 1261. And this is how the betrayal took place.
Sponsored by Wendy's. Eat